Well, we ended up last time on this 8-passenger Yellowstone Park Stagecoach getting these hounds sawn out, and then I custom fit that stabilizer bar from an old piece of wagon wheel felly so it fits the original curve of the iron that is there. So I need to transfer this down onto the axle cap so I can calculate where those tapered mortises have to go. But there's a few things that I want to make sure first that we've got everything sitting on here square. So just doing some quick checks from the axle cap back. I'm at 18 3/4, 18 3/4. So I'm equal distance back. I want to make sure I'm also equal distance to the front. And we should be, because we did pattern these together. So I am 30 3/8, 30 3/8. And I also want to make sure this is all square with the axle so that the horses actually pull it straight. So I'm going to go from, just button up against that nut, 44 3/4, do the same from both sides, 45. So I need to go this way just a titch. Forty-four 7/8, 44 7/8. Double check that my marks are lined up with my axle. We're pretty close. Now I've got the center of this lined out, but I won't actually drill that until it's in place, and then I'll drill through the whole assembly at once. So because of the taper through these hounds, I have a different length here than I do here. So I'm just going to take my square up against my fifth wheel plate and mark each of these 4 spots. That should transfer this angle to my axle cap, I'm thinking. So when I sawed these out, I made them strong because I want some room to be able to adjust the angles. As this fits into the mortise, I want it to stop right where these lines are. So I have some room to play with that. As I have this sawn out, I am 2 inches, 1 3/4 inches. On this old one, I would say it is 1 3/4 inches to maybe 11/16. So I'm a bit strong in here, which I'd rather have it strong than too small, of course. So I'm going to take and mark this about where this new wood is, and I'm going to do it on both sides. And if I shift this to the side, you're going to see another pair of marks underneath. See, these marks here are what I marked off of the cardboard pattern. And going off the marks from my pattern, I am at 1 3/4 inches, which is exactly where my old ones were on the front. And on this side, I am 1 5/8 inches strong. So this is actually the closer to the original. This is how much I have to play with. So I am going to make an adjustment closer to this one here. I'm going to move this in about 1/8 of an inch. The outside is really close. I'll leave that one how it is. So there we are 1 5/8 inches. And if I do it the same on the front, my outside is really close. I'm going to move this one in 1/8 of an inch. So I'll be at 1 13/16, and I'm at 2 here, so I think that'll give me some room to work with. And I'll do the same to the other side. And since I didn't mark them both at the same time before I moved it, I gotta double check my square. There we go. So with those spacings in place, I need to find out where it is location height-wise. Measure from the top of my old wood cap. Looks like the bottom of these front axle hounds is at 3 inches. So I'm going to come down 3 inches. This is, remember, 1 7/8. So I've got to take this all apart so I can get to my axle cap. Figure out how I'm going to put that tapered mortise in there. This is the front. I need to come down 3 inches. And come back up 1 7/8. So those are going to be our mortises, and I'm going to mark this both sides because I'll come at it from both sides. So then we need to find out what the angles are. So I'm going to connect the 2 lines from both sides. And find out what those angles are. That one is 8 degrees. That one is 13 degrees. Let's see if we're the same. That one I have at 7 degrees. That one I have at 12 degrees. So first thing is to double check all my measurements. Let's see, that's it, right at 12. Maybe 12 and a half. I'm going to call this 12 also. If I do both of these the same at 12, I'll double check this one again. Is it 7? That one's about 7 and a half. Double check my measurements. I am 1 inch and 11/16. There, I'm 1 3/4 inches here. So if I came back to that 11/16, that's going to stand that up. And we should be at 7 for both sides. Yep, that'll put us at 7 and 12 for both sides. So I'll have to move this line over 1/16 of an inch. Hardly distinguishable. I tend to undercut these anyway, and I'm going to fine tune them with a file. So I do find myself trying to decide how much of these minor adjustments do I show. Or do I just go to the finished product and you miss all of these adjustments, like the 7 and 12 versus 8 and 13, and how do I make these to where they are uniform so everything runs square, and the minor adjustments of the axle hounds being positioned correctly so I can mortise them right into the axle cap. If it's too much information, let me know. But my goal is to show you these little details that is part of the process in restoring. If I was just building this from scratch, I wouldn't have all these little adjustments. I would just do how I want to do. But I'm trying to take it back to how it was built initially in the early 1900s. So part of the process that I go through to make this an authentic restoration. So we're getting close to the next step, which actually to cut these mortises into this axle cap. And these are, obviously you know by now, they're tapered and they are angled. So how do I do that? A number of years ago, I bought the biggest hollow chisel mortiser that Grizzly had in their catalog. But it didn't do everything that I wanted it to do. And some of you probably remember there was a set of 3 videos that I put together in the process of me tearing this apart, literally cutting it apart, and redesigning it so that it would do what I needed to do. And part of that need was to incorporate these large hubs that I built the borax wagon wheels on. They're 17-inch diameter, and so I needed something to accommodate that. So what I have is a hollow chisel mortiser, but it has the capability to be adjusted to different angles, so that's what I need to do now in cutting these out. So what I've done is I've taken a piece of wood and I've cut 2 different angles on my chop saw, one at 7 degrees and one at 12 degrees. So this is going to match up with my 12-degree angle, and I have one here that will match up to my 7-degree angle. So now I can take and use these blocks to show me the proper angle for my bit. Match that to my 7 degrees first. So I've transferred my marks from the top to the bottom so that I have a visual reference. My outside angles are going to be 7, my insides are going to be 12. So I'll do my outside first. Then I'm actually going to take this and rotate it around. If I run a fence square here, I'll be able to do this 7 degrees as well. And then I'm going to have to rotate it 7 degrees this direction to do from the back side this way, and likewise from this direction. So I'm just going to bring this a little past halfway, and I'll do my 7 degrees both directions, and I'm going to change to my 12 degrees and do that. So it's actually going to take me 4 times setting this bit up. Once to the right, once to the left, and come at it from both directions. And for my second fence, I'm just going to put a board up in front. So when my round bottom side of this axle cap is against this fence, it will be square up against this fence. So this is actually set up on 2 milling tables. This milling table actually came with this hollow chisel mortiser. Then I have it set on top of another milling table that was originally part of this vertical steel shaper. So now with my milling table, I can find my line there, and then I'll just work it out. But that's the advantage of this whole mortising setup being set on a milling table base. That's where it's nice to have my references on 7 and 12. I almost cut the 12 degree at a 7 degree. That would have totally messed that up, but I just started, so I'm going to cut this side. So with the tools that I have, that's how I can cut an angled mortise, but also a tapered mortise. And that really is all any of us can do. We can approach a project with the skill sets that we have and the tools we have that are available to us and answer that question, how do I get there from here? This is the problem that I needed to address, and this is where I'm at, and so this is how I did it. Maybe you're going to do something like this differently. Doesn't really matter. The goal at the end is how do you get there? This is how I chose to get my tapered angle mortises cut. So for what it's worth, appreciate you coming along. Thanks for watching.